Hi, this is Chris with firstcenturychristianity.net, also title Pastor of the Word and the Way. And I'm here to educate you about Amendment 3 so that you can understand what it is you're voting on. Because what is being bandied about, what's on our ballot education literature, and what's being put on the television is not actually representative of what this amendment would do. And keep in mind, this is a constitutional amendment. So a constitutional amendment is the binding law for the entire state. It's not like this can go to the court and get interpreted out or something like that. Well, this is going for the gusto, going beyond the legislature, beyond the governor, beyond the courts. They want to put this, enshrine it into our state's constitution. So we really need to understand what it means, and um, and it's all about fetal viability. It's all about a definition. So, first things first is to know the text of the amendment. The actual text of it is not that long. You go to the Secretary of State's website, and then you scroll down. You can go to see what's going to be on the ballot. And here's the fifth day of November. It's a really good thing our government does is it makes it very easy for us to educate ourselves on what we're going to vote on. So November 5th, it shows you all the amendment constitutions that'll be on our ballot. It's a number 2 is the first one, and then you have to scroll down to look at number 3. It's a ways down. So Constitutional Amendment 3. Now, you see this bold stuff here. This is the abstract that's being put in all the literature. I even have a voter guide that I picked up over the weekend at a Latino, get together in the West Bottoms, and this is what people think the law is going to do, and it does effectively do these things, but it's the way that it does it that actually will make Missouri the most pro-abortion place on earth. This would make us more pro-abortion than the nations of Germany, France, Canada. I mean, this is really going to put us out there. Now, I want you to understand the law that got Roe versus Wade overturned was a 15-week limit in the state of Mississippi. They always say that Mississippi banned abortion. Well, they legalized it up to 15 weeks, and that's what got Roe versus Wade overturned. The deep red state of Mississippi just wanted a 15-week limit on abortion, which, if we were voting on that right now, if that was being proposed, there is nothing us pro-lifers could do to stop that. If this amendment that we were looking at right here was a 15-week limit on abortion, with the exceptions that are always listed out, that would pass in the state by 90%, and we would all just, us pro-lifers would just have to pound sand. And so that's not what's being proposed, and we have to understand what is being proposed. So most of you have jobs that have some kind of regulation to them, and you've seen laws and you've been subject to laws and whatnot. But even if your job doesn't have a bunch of procedures like ISO procedures or auto manufacturing, engineering procedures, you have an employee handbook, and that employee handbook is gonna start out with a scope. What's the purpose of it? Who do these things apply to? And then it'll have a section of definitions. And the definitions of words and acronyms in the employee handbook says, for the purposes of this document, these words mean this thing. Well, in law, that exists, and procedures actually follow the law, meaning lagging the law to have such things. So the definitions here are not at the front. That's a big red flag, because there should be a section right here that gives you the definitions. Underneath this abstract, it should tell you what the definitions are. But you go through and you read the law. The right to reproductive freedom should not be denied or restricted unless the government demonstrates that such an act is justified by compelling interest, denial, inference. It's got all this stuff, right? It's got all this good feeling, you're free language, right? But it's all based on fetal viability. So the law should really only be 2 sentences long, starting in 8.1. And in 8.1, for the purposes of this section, by the section, it means this section of the Constitution, not the section of this proposal. So it's defining fetal liability for this amendment as such. The point in pregnancy when, in the good faith judgment of a treating healthcare professional and based on the particular facts of the case, there is a significant likelihood of the fetus's sustained survival outside the uterus without the application of extraordinary measures. So what they've done here, and You may have a different definition of fetal viability than this law, this amendment has, and that does not matter. If this passes, it doesn't matter what anybody's opinion of what fetal viability means. It doesn't matter what Webster's dictionary says. It doesn't matter what Google says. This would be the definition of fetal viability for the state of Missouri, and it's defined as completely gray area, and it's all in the hands of the treating healthcare professional. And then based on the facts of the case, and there's a significant likelihood, they have defined this with so much gray area that it's bound for the courts. And the courts would have to side with the healthcare professional having sole jurisdiction whether the child lives or dies. Brothers and sisters, friends, countrymen, Roman, whoever you are, that does not empower the woman to make the decision. It empowers the doctor. And what are abortion doctors going to want to do? Abortion doctors are going to want to abort. And you may find umbrage with that. You may, well, nobody's ever going to do that, Chris, except we have the former governor of the state of Virginia, Ralph Northam, is a medical doctor, on record talking about, in his judgment, having birthed a child where the woman is fine, the woman is off in a different room, she's recovering, the child is made comfortable, and he's going to have a discussion about whether that child lives or dies after it's been born and the woman is completely out of the picture. That is disgusting, it's despicable, and it's sick. We've had other horrible medical doctors keep body parts of aborted fetuses in their residences. I think the guy's name was Goslin or something like that. I'll put a picture in here after I'm done. So understand, my friends, that this amendment is designed, and all these other words don't matter. It's all designed around the term fetal viability as defined right here, which would give Planned Parenthood and abortion doctors 100% license to abort children even post-birth if they wanted to. Because at post-birth, they could have the child in an incubator and say, oh gosh, we don't think this kid's going to live more than 6 months, so would you like us to kill it for you? That's what this legalizes. So understand, if you vote yes on this, that is what you are making legal. Now, if this proposal was to give the state of Missouri an 11-week limit on abortions with exceptions for the health of the mother, there is nothing us pro-lifers could do to stop that. That would pass 90%, 95% in the state. But if people understand what this actually does, and if this happens, God forbid this thing happens to pass, and Missouri starts to become an abortion mill for the rest of the nation, and kids are being executed third trimester or even at the point of birth in this state, there will be an outcry like you've never seen before. So please, even if you are pro-choice, even if you're only slightly anti-abortion, please vote no on this. Force the legislature to make legislation to make decisions under the current paradigm, or force another actually moderate amendment, because this right here is sick.